Welcome to Disciplines Radio. We are back with Dr. Danny, and we are adequately fired up for today's
No,
topic.
yeah.
Um, I think we just break into it, right? Like the topic you and I were just discussing was coaching and credibility within the coaching circle. And I know that if you follow my Instagram and YouTube, I joke around and talk about how I'm a fucking dumb knuckle dragging meathead. And I kind of lean into that only because that's a pushback against all the over science guys. When in the grand scheme of life, like, and I will openly admit this on the internet, and you know this from spending time with me, I'm actually highly educated.
Very, very.
Um, and yes, I could use big fancy science words and sound really smart, but I've always thought like I don't want to speak over someone's head because I have that knowledge. I want to speak to the entire room, and if I can help everyone get better, like why not do that? Like I don't need to when I'm educating, I think that's what a lot of people miss. I'm not speaking to my peers. I'm not speaking to, even though Danny, you can learn stuff from my channels, I'm sure you have. I'm actually speaking to the people who are watching and consuming my content who are uneducated, right? And in terms of they're wanting to learn and broaden their spectrum of knowledge. And again, that's something I learned from John. He could be in a room with PhDs and someone who's only lifted for 3 weeks,
Mhm.
and everyone could walk out of that seminar understanding the concepts he was teaching. And it's not because he was talking about sarcoplasmic rhythm and timing of micronutrients and using massive words talking about mitochondrial health. It's like, okay, cool. Like, what can you take home and apply today? So I guess I'll let you start here. Like, and I know you and I both feel really, really deeply about this.
Yeah.
When you teach a topic online, you don't need to have the understanding, like, and I'm going to call this like the Google or Wikipedia answer. You actually need to have a further depth of knowledge than what Google would give you in a paragraph if you asked, "How do I make my shoulder stop hurting?" Yeah,
Yeah, I think, we were talking off air about this a little bit too, and we kind of got on this topic because we were talking about leadership.
yes,
And I love that you brought up John because when we think about leadership, and especially on social media right now, there are people who put out content and they do it in a spirit that kind of just makes you feel like you don't know enough, or like you're afraid you're missing something, or like it creates this like, oh my God, what's wrong with me kind of feeling.
yep,
And like I hate to say that you can like sense people's energy through the internet, but you can kind of sense the energy through the internet, right?
yep,
And it drives me like there are very few things on this planet that actually make me legitimately angry.
mhm,
Um, Someone who is trying to elevate themselves by doing that is one of them. It just, um, and so, when you brought up John, I think he was a great example of someone who, when we think about leadership, and coaching, and when you're hiring a coach, you're essentially hiring someone that you think can lead you.
yes,
That leadership should be something that allows you to feel empowered, educated, move forward, calm, confident, delay anxiety, or get rid of it altogether.
right,
Educate you. I mean, they're all things that are rooted in a spirit of like uplifting you.
yes,
That's what leadership should do.
right,
And unfortunately, right now, so many coaches, I don't know if it's because they think the market's oversaturated. It's not. Um, but they're out there trying to basically scream it from a mountaintop about how, or those say things in a spirit that basically makes people feel dumb.
yes,
And I hate that. I've blocked a lot of people on my feed because they're less educated than me, but make me feel dumb. And if I'm out there consuming this and I feel that way, how do our clients feel?
correct, yeah,
Not good.
right,
Um, so I love that you brought up John because he always made things easy and light.
yes,
Like when you went to go learn from him, no matter how complex or how simple or anything, it was done in a way that kind of made it feel like you were all just moving together and it was not a big deal.
right,
Um,
yep,
so I don't know. I don't know if right now there are a lot of very young, insecure coaches on the internet that are just so stuck on their own pride and trying to prove themselves or what. Maybe that's the benefit of working with someone who's a little bit older, is we don't we don't need to prove ourselves to anybody. I don't know, but you said something off air too that I think really kind of hit home in that if people want to speak about something publicly, it's probably best to be like over educated about it. And I think that's where you were going with like the Google answer that you brought up.
Yes,
And
correct.
so that people understand the context of this, there was a post that I saw that again, like I'm there's not a lot that really makes me mad, but this post is a posing coach who is very far outside his lane, trying to take something that's been clickbaity for a while and like, how would you describe that? I'm agitated about it. Um,
He is definitely trying to get views and help people fix something that he doesn't grasp the full concept of what's teaching. Is that accurate?
do you think he's actually trying to fix, or do you think he's trying to look important?
Hmm. That's always my question.
Yeah.
Always internally is, are you trying to present that I am a higher level of education, please hire me? Or are you trying to again speak down to people? Or are you really trying to just educate and it's coming across not the way I would deliver it? And I'm not saying my delivery system is always perfect, by the way. Um,
I
yeah,
I think there's a fourth element too of just looking for things to talk about to like garner attention. And unfortunately, social media has like brought some of that out. I don't think it's necessarily a good or a bad thing, but again, like how it's used is important. Um, this person is also someone that I know people who were very well entwined with him, and they were like, yeah, you would not want to trust him, kind of thing.
right.
Um,
Yep.
and he's talking about stuff with the rib cage, and mind you, like the tricky thing about this, and I think why I got so agitated, and part of where this conversation can go, is that a lot of these things that are presented as like a quick fix on the internet, applied poorly or out of context, actually have potential to do a lot of harm to someone.
Yes.
Um,
Yep.
and that's a problem. Like if you're a coach who actually gives a shit about people, that's an enormous problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know you see this all the time.
It, you know, I know how much you have dumped into learning about the rib cage, working with hands-on with fixing issues, with problem solving, with learning on the fly, right? And it's very similar. The way you view rib cage is the way I very much view all these, and I'm going to say they're very young and inexperienced people, or people who are viewed as very intelligent, but I really question their legitimacy because I think they do it for clickbait, is pushing this low rep range on everyone.
Hmm.
Like, and I'm thinking, I'm literally, I know that, fuck it. It's Paul Carter, man. Like, he is the army leader of it. 8 and below, anything else is fatiguing, blah, blah, blah. I just saw this bullshit where he posted, if you need a deload week, your training system sucks. Guess what, bro? If John was still alive, I would love to hear that debate between those two. If Louis Simmons was still alive, I'd love to hear the debate between those three. Go talk that bullshit to Dave Tate, and I would love to see him clap back. And I only say that because I view those three men as like beyond intelligence with training, right? And to make that statement posted on the internet, and now you're going to see young kids out there, they're scared to train hard because God forbid they need an actual deload or a week off. And they're like, oh my God, my
And you're
training.
making them stay in an 8 rep range.
Yes. So on the two sides of that coin, right? I hear people that are around mine and your age and above, and they consume that. And like, oh my God, like, Chris, I need to get to eight or below, or I need to push progressive overload. Next thing you know, it's like knees hurt, hips hurt, back hurt, shoulders hurt, tore my pec tendon. Like, why? If you just took that rep range north, bro, and you really pay attention to exercise sequencing and selection, I promise you'll feel better and still be able to make progress. Like
This is
I
why you're
laughed.
not getting along so well.
Yeah, I feel the same way because I'm like, you're literally fucking people and you don't understand. Like that knowledge is probably good for a 19 to fucking 30-year-old. Awesome. Go attack.
If
Like,
that,
get
if
brutally
that.
strong. Okay. But that's saying you have zero injuries and you're paying attention to recovery and your eating is good, and he doesn't believe in sleep because I don't understand that. But it's another topic that I could rant on. I could probably do a whole post, like
That,
podcast about
yeah.
that. Like the dude posted a damn before and after photos yesterday, and there was I laughed. I'm like, so you took a photo not pumped and you took a photo pumped. Awesome. I could do the same shit. It's a 32-second transformation. Like, I'm not impressed. And your little army of dudes like, oh my God, look at the change. I'm like, you were manipulated.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and like I think this is the hard thing too, is that like people that come out with these big ideas, they're I'm not gonna say big ideas, loud ideas.
Yes, yes.
They speak about one context or
Mhm.
one situation as though it is the entirety. So let's debunk this a
Correct.
little bit.
Yep.
Okay. Well, what happens as we age? Because I had this conversation with someone earlier this week. He's 56. He
Mhm.
still wants to make progress. He's had spinal fusion. He's had torn hamstring, torn calf. And he pulled me aside. He was actually at Destination the other day, and I started talking. He's like, "Well, I keep hearing I'm only supposed to train in like 4 to 8 rep range." I was like, "Who is saying that to you?"
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, okay, let's pull that apart. What do we know about connective tissue as we age? It loses water.
Right.
Like, it loses elasticity. It becomes more dense. The more we load it, the more we affect the afferent nerves that go down to the brain, and that's going to have descending control on muscular tension at baseline level. So, like, we have science, and it's not even like fancy stuff. This stuff we learned in like undergrad, right? Like,
Right.
we have science that shows us this is what happens. And unfortunately, what happens is instead of letting those principles guide what we choose,
Mhm.
people are wired to a camp rather than the principles.
Correct.
Um,
Yes.
and that's the same thing with a lot of the ribcage stuff. Honestly, like my feed is full of people who are like, again, like I love Bill Hartman's model. I see a lot of limitations within it. I'm not going to claim to fully understand it. But my feed is full of people arguing about the rib cage and does sacral movement matter if it's only 2 degrees and
Right.
pain science and blah blah blah. And at the end of the day, those things only matter in as much as we can understand the principles behind them. All models are wrong, some are useful, right? Like, isn't that the quote?
Yes.
And models are always based off principles.
Yep.
And so, like the rib cage stuff that got me so hot and bothered last night, and I sent it to you, and in a fury, I was like, "Can I just rip him apart?" Which you probably never have you ever heard me say that?
No. No.
Never. Um, it's just based on the fact that, like, with a poor understanding of principles, again, like, kind of like kids being afraid to train hard because if they do and they need a deload, we clearly did something wrong. Like, this creates a spirit of fear. I'm so not like, can we just not do that to people?
Yes. Yeah.
Nothing good happens there.
No. No.
All
No, but
right.
it's really funny is that's what little Dave and I talked about on Monday on our podcast, which released yesterday, was this epidemic of everyone thinking our body's a delicate flower.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to speak on you for a second. You won the Chicago Pro with an autoimmune disease training to seizure.
Yeah.
Training to seizure. I'm not saying that is probably the right way always, but I need people to understand that we are more resilient than people are presenting right now. I saw a young kid, Danny, I'm not exaggerating. He was telling guys to get a cane to walk to limit axial fatigue.
Are you kidding me?
No, no.
Talk about fear driving.
Can you imagine watching a bunch of dudes walking around a gym with a cane? And then you know those assholes are going to be counting steps of cane on the right, cane on the left, and analyzing like the
Why
percentage
don't
of.
we just get them a walker, Like,
Listen, it's gonna be like scooters, like electric scooters, or those things that you drive, the people who are handicapped right around the grocery stores in.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm like, what is next? Like, when did walking become so fatiguing that you're scared you're gonna miss 2 reps on a leg press? Like,
Well, and I think that like, oh, I just had a thought and lost it. It'll come back. It'll come back.
yeah,
Always does.
it's really really interesting because if we're going back to the rib cage post that you saw, and that was directly, uh, it was trying to fix rib flare. And
Without even understanding what rib flare is,
uh,
there are layers to this, and this is something that like in the group mentorship that I run, I
mhm,
tell people all the time, like, do not take what I say as gospel because
right,
there's so many more layers to this than I can communicate to you. This
yeah,
has taken me over a decade to even start to have some understanding of, and every time I listen to someone a lot smarter than me, I'm like, oh wow,
yeah,
I've been doing it wrong, and I'm a nerd. Um,
Here's what my and listen, I admitted to you that like my understanding of the rib cage is very limited. But what I know from speaking with you on it is that to make a blanket statement about fixing rib flare for everyone, the nuance within everyone's different structure, that would be physically impossible. And
yeah,
it wasn't even addressed within the post like, hey, for this body type, this will help fix this issue. Um,
it was followed by someone else liked it. And he said, "Great, send it to all your female competitors."
right, yes.
Doesn't that just scream, give like promote me, give me business? I want to take, me.
Right.
That's not leadership.
No, no.
Um, And I understand because just like I'm going to sit here and say he doesn't understand what he's talking about, people could very much say the same of me, right?
Right.
And I get that. I'm also not out preaching things, but I think the danger, and not the danger, I think the important thing in a lot of the ribcage stuff is there's an enormous influence because our between our musculoskeletal activity and our physiology. All of this stuff changing can change blood flow up to the brainstem, cerebellum. We're going to get some different descending control there. We're going to have a change in vagal tone. I mean, a lot of the implications and intertwining between our vagus nerve and some of the physiological impacts of like neurotransmitter stuff, a lot of that is very interrelated with our musculoskeletal system.
Right.
So if
Yeah.
we start trying to manipulate that without an understanding of it, like that can cause some problem.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And yeah, I think I want to believe that people are trying to post information that helps others, right? I
Mhm.
forget that the ones who are really good at this or trying to be good at this, it's all a marketing grab, right? It's
Yeah.
do you like my post? Do you comment on my post? Do you share it so that that reaches more people? And sadly, I know that's not the way you and I look at social media. And I think that's why you and I didn't get into this business of I'm going to say helping others to make a bunch of money. That just came as a byproduct. Like
Yeah.
I enjoy teaching exercise. I enjoy educating about nutrition and supplements. Like just the same as I love coaching youth sports. It's a passion. It's something that I found like, hey, cool, like I can actually make money at doing something that I'm good at and I love to study. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's true happiness in life, right? Like I, I don't even though it's cool to say, oh, like my YouTube almost has 20,000 subscribers, like that sounds cool, but that's not very rewarding, right? Like if I pull up my comments that I was just answering before you and I jumped on here, four people said, "Man, that lat video you sent really made a difference." Like
Mm,
that touches me. That's like, fuck yeah.
mm.
Like even if no one else of the thousand that watched the video, I helped four people learn how to connect to that lat on the hammer strength pull down. That's that's why I do this. Like I think a lot of times I'm probably too naive for the internet. Because I want to think that anyone who's out there who's, not just posting thirst trap videos of them training glutes with their fucking asshole in the camera, like that's what their goal is. Um, but I realize that a lot of times it's more of a me, give me the spotlight. I want followers, I want money, I want a sponsorship. Like to me, all that shit comes as a byproduct of good content and good work.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, as I told you before we started, I was like, I don't market my business, but I get referrals because I treat people right. And I get them results or progress. And if that's for a short duration or a long duration, that's irrelevant to me. When if you come
Hmm.
to me, I pray to God you learn and walk away being a higher elevated self, right? And that's physically and mentally because as you know, like I'm a big believer in like I want my clients to have confidence. And I know not all of them are going to have that, but I hope to teach them like confidence comes from doing. The more we
Yes.
do together, the better you are, the more you believe in yourself. The more you believe in yourself, the better progress you can make. Like so
Absolutely.
it's an evolution very similar to the way any good coach I ever had growing up as a kid taught me. And it part of the coaching realm that I really still love to this day is still being in the gym doing it myself because we have to lead
Yeah.
by example, right? Like
Totally.
it's cool when you send me a video of you ripping deadlifts off the ground because I know you're still in that fight. So your clients have to be able to see that and relate to it and be like, fuck, man, like she understands because she's going through it with me. And there's something to be said for that, in my opinion. I'm not saying there aren't good coaches out there who are retired or have never lifted weights a day in their life, but it gives some people some more hope, right? Like,
For sure. Well, I think that, just like anecdotally, when I did have to take a big step back in training last year and I changed how I showed up, my
right.
clients showed up differently.
Yeah, yes,
And
agreed.
I was like, wow. Because it's not like I post any much. Like I'll occasionally like here's the story of me being a dancing bear on the internet. But like that's it. Um, I think the other thing for those of us who really genuinely care about this is that like for both of us, I think we see a relationship between our physical body and our physical training and how that evolves us as people. It allows us to show up as better leaders, better fathers, better husbands, I mean, like just better business owners. And so when a client comes to us, it's not like, oh, cool, another client. It's like, I know that the way this person will evolve is going to allow them to show up to lead better in other areas of their life if they can lead themselves better. And that's going to have a carryover effect. And so when we believe in that, like mission basically of like allowing the world to be a better space through training, it sounds really like, pie in the sky, but I think there's a lot to be said. When people feel crappy in their bodies, they show up crappy elsewhere. Um, and that changes things.
It's here's how I always thought about it. Like this training, nutrition, cardio, regimen, consistency is such a transferable skill to anything in life. And I've said that countless times.
Yeah.
The lessons I learned suffering in a diet, uh, and just to give people parameters, right? Like if you've went zero carb for 9 weeks and did 2 hours of cardio a day, which I have, like it gives you a perspective and appreciation for other aspects. Like, oh man, like that was really hard. I survived and I learned from it. I'm not saying that that's the right dieting strategy, right? But that's what I was forced to do. No, sorry, that's what I chose to do. And you see like that reframing in my brain, right? Like most people would say, "Oh, look what I had to do." And no, at any time I could have went and gotten McDonald's and Burger King and
The opportunity is always there.
right. And I mean, little Dave always jokes, and it's such a great comment. He's like, muffins are always on sale at Costco. Like the choice is yours. And that's something that I believe in, right? Like when we wake up and we choose a behavior, if you can do that repeatedly, even though you may not, that might, I'm not saying not want to do it, but maybe the right wording there is there are more favorable options to choose.
More
Um,
palatable for sure.
yes, yes. You learn something, you grow from it, and you get better off of it, right? Like success and has never came like this beautiful road. It's always jagged and mountains and peaks and fucking sliding down hills and getting hit in the head with a baseball bat and recovering, right? Like it
Yeah, yeah, no kidding.
looks like it's chaos, right? Like there are periods of time where it's easy and you want to stay in there as long as you can, but eventually you know life is going to hit you. Like, and I think what you said there with when a client comes to me, here's what I view, right? Like I view of it's a puzzle that's constantly changing shape. You come to me with a problem, or I say a problem. You want to you need to gain muscle, you need to fix a body part, you need to lose body fat, you need to get shredded, fill in the blank. Digestion issues, whatever you come to us for. Eventually, I'm going to work that out. And then it isn't just a beautiful puzzle that we stare at that's put together. Like then we run into other issues and we must problem solve those for, I mean, any client that I've had for shit, 2 to 8 years, the amount of problems we fixed and worked through. And I think that's what people like they fail to realize is always again, that's the analogy I always have with clients is like it's just a puzzle. And I'm just gonna have to figure it out. And some people are easy to figure. It's big fucking pieces. Other people, it's fucking teeny and it looks like I'm putting together a snowbank. It's
Such a good
all
analogy. Hmm.
right. Like, but guess what? When I crack that code, and I will because I'm fucking persistent, it's gonna work. And we're gonna figure it out together. But then at the end of the day, like as you know, with working with clients, things break, things change, digestion change, stress, relationships, life, business, your physique. Like, the amount of times, and I'm only going to say Dave because everyone I think looks at his progress on my page and watch the podcast. Like, the amount of times I've had to change what we focus on because his body's grown and we've fixed problems, and then this creates new problems. It's countless, right?
Yeah.
And we've worked around multiple injuries, torn muscles, like him going through breakups and fucking moving and, changing jobs. It's like at the end of the day, like he still checked in every twice a week. He still progressed, but that progression model looked different and it sure as fuck wasn't linear.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Even just hearing you speak, like hearing you talk about the puzzle and your persistence in solving it, like again, talking about, I want to pull back to leadership.
Yeah.
Hearing you talk instills confidence and like everything about the way that you just carried is like, hey, we're going to figure this out. That's the kind of coaching that I think people should be looking for. And that is why, like, I tell people all the time, there's no way I would have made it through 23 without you. There's no freaking way. No way whatsoever. Um, and 24 too. And now at 25, like these podcast recording are like a good reminder that like, hey, you can still go, you can still go if you want. Um, so I just really like I want to highlight your leadership because I know that's something that is important to you, and I think it just stems naturally from who you are. Um, I think the other kind of cool thing that we've hit on a little bit is that the exposure to some of the topics that, like when people say to, train 8 rep range and below, we can see that as like something like, oh my God, that's so annoying. But it also gives us an opportunity to be like, okay, cool. People are talking about a thing that I like to talk about. Let me come in and shed a little truth.
Right.
And I think that in some ways, it's it's good for, I don't want to say this. It's good for us when people are talking about the things that we love, almost like incorrectly.
Yeah.
But it also does create some uphill too in some ways. And man, I don't know how you, I don't want to say like attack that, or if you don't and you just kind of like low key insert yourself. I mean, I feel like you're not a low key insert yourself into anything.
No, no, I will say,
Yeah, that's not you.
I'll tell you something really funny. This is a conver yesterday. Um, it was a young guy, and listen, I'm going to be honest here. His arms were under 15 inches, and he was talking about leaving 1 to 2. No, maybe it was one. Maybe it was just one. Leaving 1 rep in reserve on a cable tricep pushdown. Okay, it's a tricep pushdown first. Like, so it isn't. It is. I'm not talking about going like to an RPE of 13 on Bulgarian split squats. I'm doing a straight set of single arm cable pushdowns with a cuff, and he actually was.
Probably stabilized
It
on
was, and
something.
he was actually strapped in with a wrist strap to the cuff. So, and Dave commented on there, like little Dave, and then my response underneath, and I was like, Dave, please be careful. These under 200-pound gremlins are going to tell us how stupid we are. Like,
I,
I need people to like zoom out a bit sometimes when they hear this. And listen, I've actually trained in all rep ranges, believe that or not. Like when we were in football, we did 1 rep max test 2 to 3 times a year. So I've been in the 1 rep max zone before. Early in my bodybuilding, I did a lot of 5x5 stuff. I when even with John, like 6 to 8 on incline barbell press was not unheard of.
yeah, and leg press too,
Yep,
right?
yep. When like he's one of the most fun things that he ever had me do was 5 sets of 5 with chain flat barbell benching. Like you be explosive, you rip the weight. Nothing was the true failure. It was simply just working like what Westside Barbell would call dynamic work, right? Like
Mhm.
or speed work, whatever you want to call that. And it was incredible. I loved that. Um, but you have to realize like that's in context. That was third or fourth in rotation of training chest. We were
Right.
doing uh slight incline barbell or sorry, slight incline dumbbell pressing. We were doing incline barbell pressing. Then we were going to that chain barbell bench press when we were pretty fucking fatigued at that point, right? Like, and I realized that as I aged, if I continued to do that heavy basic stuff, like I was just going to start breaking down and my joints are starting to hurt. So my training had to evolve as my body was changing, right? Like
Yeah.
there were multiple times where he would have me do, it was early on in my training. So I'm in my, mind you, I'm 25 to 28. A chest day, I remember one specifically where it was incline dumbbell press, incline barbell press. It was, then we went over to flat and he had me do close grip bench press for triceps as heavy as I could. Then we put double red band on there and we were pressing against the bands with a widened out grip. So we're going wide, narrow, alternating sets for like 8 sets. And that's like trying to maximally push, right? Like I was in
But
my
that tricep push down is really going to put you into too much fatigue and overload.
correct. Yes. And that's why I always laugh because it's like I find it very comical, right? Because you take someone like that who is that size and you insert them into a gym full of what I'll call gorillas. You put them at destination and no one even looks in their direction and thinks they lift weights, right? Like you put that individual between me and your husband and little Dave, and you're like, is that y'all's little brother? Is he, y'all teaching him how to lift
Is he your breakfast?
today? Like, I always laugh. I find it really interesting because those posts will have like 50,000 likes and a bunch of shares, and I'm like, this is what people want to consume. Like, are they looking for easy way? Like, I can't wrap my mind around it.
I think people are looking for ways to feel okay. And so they find people that agree or that make agree with them or that say something that affirms their current line of thinking and action, and that becomes likable, right? And I think that's the most important. Oh, this is what I was going to say earlier, where we're talking about the canes and the walkers and things like that, joking around. Part of why that is so detrimental is that, like, truly, what we think, our brains literally change.
Hmm.
It changes our body. Um, and the way that we think about things, man, when we start thinking that way, that's a dangerous, dangerous thing. And so when we're looking at, social media and like what people like, I think that's kind of the scary thing about that too, is our brains are always going to choose the thing that feels safest, most comfortable. And unfortunately, when we're either given the option to choose something that is safe and comfortable, or the person that is like, you're an idiot. Here's why. I can't believe you don't know this. When people are left with that kind of a dichotomy and decision, of course we're not going to be seeing good progress. Of course we're going to be left with a generation of people who don't know how to think for themselves. Of course we're going to be left with people who are so unsure of themselves. And that's where, again, you as a coach are the goat.
I'm gonna ask you a question here, and this is gonna sound really derogatory, and I think I kind of mean it, right? Like sometimes when I see a lot of this heavy content from people who I view as inexperienced as term as their like physicality, right? How they look. I almost feel like it's like Revenge of the Nerds. It's like we want to make
Oh,
that group
oh,
of guys who have all the muscle feel insignificant, unintelligent, and like they're drug addicts, right? Or they're gifted with God-given genetics that they just look at weights and they live, they grow, right? And they're like, we're the larger group because this takes a long time to achieve. Like, because you and I both know most guys are going to need and that's 5 is short, more like a decade of hard training to look like you can wear anything and people are like, that's a big motherfucker, right? Like you be in a
right.
hoodie and like gas sweatpants and a hoodie, and you're like, that's a monstrous man, right?
Yeah.
5 to 10 years minimum, where I can go get an education and be super smart in probably what 4 years or less, maybe even slower if you're really or even faster if you're, you
I was
know,
gonna say these days people take like a 4 week course and then try to reproduce the course on their own.
right.
Sell it.
Or they
Bruh.
find, yeah, or they find someone they relate to and they just regurgitate all their information, right? And then become
Mhm.
parrots for that person, which I think is what's happening more. And I guess in my mind, like that's something I really struggle with because I don't relate to it. And I'm not saying that because now I'm one of the bigger individuals. I'm saying that because when I was younger, I always looked at the big guys in my gym, on the internet, on magazines, and I thought, I want to be like them. I want to listen. Like anything they like
Huge. How do I
tidbit,
get here?
I listened. Right. Hell yeah. Like that's why I related so much to John is like I just wanted to soak in his knowledge. Like, and I've said this to him blue in the face, he has forgotten more about training than I ever know. So it's like anytime I got the opportunity to be around him and ask intelligent questions and just study how he operated within a workout, like I was always learning. Like I was when I was there at Elite or American Barbell, Lifetime, you name it, I was analyzing and fucking memorizing shit. Like I'd play it back in my brain and like I'd wake up the next morning and I'm like, okay, cool. For back, I really watched like when he put his elbow here and he took his pinky there and sometimes he just ripped that weight like nothing fucking mattered. And then I'm like, hey, like when we were doing that last set of incline dumbbell press, like what was your thought process? Like what were you trying to do? And then he would tell me and I'm like, okay, cool. Like bank that shit, learn it, why, and then apply it.
Mhm.
So in your opinion, like, do you think that more people relate to the intelligent wording over the physical because they closely are like they relate to
It's
that
easier to
more?
access. It's
Got
a
it.
lot easier to access,
Okay.
I think. But I mean, like, what do you think?
I think that
A lot easier to read a book than train hard, eat X grams of rice and chicken, never miss a meal, prioritize sleep and supplementation for 10 years.
yes. And I think now people are scared of Groundhog Day. I believe that in my heart. Like,
How much of that do you think is because we've become so glued to our phones that our dopamine and reward system so jacked up?
agreed. And that's why I think that's why I think this is another topic altogether, but that's why I think the drug culture in our sport is so popular because they think that's the secret. That's what's going to get me to grow to be a freak. And guess what? I can tell everyone that's listening right now. I have seen countless guys and girls protocols that are triple what I would ever take, and they are a quarter of my development because of what we just said, right? Like the drugs and the supplements are only the polish.
Yeah.
The foundation is nutrition and training and hard, heavy nutrition and training. Like it's not always sexy. Like, you know, pulling 150 to 200-pound dumbbells on a single arm dumbbell row takes time.
Mm-hmm.
It,
Oh, and even then, like I posted something of Dave the other day where I was like, he biases. I work with a lot of people who are too far into like I think we work with different people. Where for you, you probably need to tell people like you're not a freaking flower, like go train. I get guys who I have to be like, listen, yeah, you can row that 200, but you're getting nothing out of that eccentric. Do you want to grow or do you want to actually just like throw weight around? One is productive, the other is not. You choose.
yes.
And someone asked me the other day, they were like, does Dave mind that you rip him apart? I was like, no. I was
Because he wants
like,
to get better.
that's mind.
I think you and I've had that conversation in person before. I'm like, please tell me how I'm fucking up because if you see easy fixes, or not necessarily easy
That's
fixes,
exactly what you said. We were doing that half kneeling pull down.
yep. Yep. Please tell me where I'm bad because I want to be able to learn and apply. Because to me, it's like this is where as a coach I get scared. You're eating all your meals right. You send me your training videos, the intensity is right, the form is right, and you aren't growing.
Right.
Then I get scared. Where it's like, oh, you don't have lats because you clearly don't know how to pull with the elbow. Got it. Hell yeah, we can fix that. Or, oh, you're not eating meal six because you're falling asleep on the couch. Okay, cool. Let's move your meals up and shorten the time distance between them. And then we can get 6 meals and you can still go to sleep at 9 o'clock. Awesome.
Mhm.
We do that, you're going to be back on gaining muscle. Like, I, as a coach, if you're doing everything right and nothing is happening, then I either have to do something on the extreme end
Yeah.
or I need to look at blood work, or I got to figure maybe you just need more time. And that's not always the sexy answer for people.
Right. Well, it's the same thing. So like when people come on with me, I have them go through an entire like testing battery. It's shocker, right? I have people go through a movement battery. Can you imagine hiring a coach who's saying they're going to help you fix your movement and not hurt, and they never actually test you? They just give you a program. Weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I have people go through an entire testing battery. It takes me hours to go through that.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I'll a lot of times when I onboard someone, I'll make them a Loom video. Hey, here's what I'm seeing. Here's how this translates to training. Here's how we need to not only predict how this is going to change as we do X, Y, and Z in the future. And they're like, oh my God, I didn't know that I was like that jacked up. And my answer is always, no, 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 this is good. We like when there's low hanging fruit because if there are four things that we can change, and four things each carry, I don't know, like 15 to 20%,
Right.
15 to 20% isn't a lot on its own. But boy, when you extrapolate that over four things, I really like what that adds up to. That's a lot of change.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. You know, I did, that's one of the YouTube videos that Chaz and I shot yesterday because
Oh, cool.
I had, I felt like a resurgence of people that either they asked me about the importance of weighing their food. And like, man, can't you get it close? You've been measuring food for a long time. So what Chaz and I did was I took the scale, I faced it away from me, and then I put the plate on the scale and I tried to get as close as I could to my what I would consider a base level meal, which is 8 ounces of chicken, 225 grams of rice, and 8 grams of olive oil. And you know, I didn't get any of the three of those right.
Wow.
They were all wrong. And we didn't manipulate it to where he was like behind the camera going up or down or any of that shit. And I was like, I just want to see how close I can get. And I think if my memory is right, I was 3 over on the oil. I was 8 under on the chicken, and I think I was 6 over on the rice in terms of grams.
6
So
grams of rice.
say what?
6 grams of rice.
Right, that's how close I was, right? But what I did was I did the math and I extrapolated that. So that meal 3 times a day for a week, for a month, and for a year, and then how much I was off. And then like what that looked like. I was over fatted, over carbed, and under proteined. So like that simple thing of how many pounds of protein over the course of a year did I miss because I refused to use the scale.
Right.
And it's like little things like that, right? Like it's like if we can be accurate, let's be accurate. Yeah,
I said the same thing for someone yesterday that I'm working with and just tried to break it down. Like, look, 50 calories here, 50 there, like doesn't seem like it adds up, but let's take that out and extrapolate it over a week. Okay, now let's put that over a month. Now let's say you want to do 16 weeks of a fat loss. That's the difference between X pounds and 1.5X. And then let's put that over a year.
yeah,
I think a lot of times we kind of forget that the same thing can happen in our training because it's a little bit less numerical in terms of like, what I mean by that is we can look at reps, we can look at weight, we can look at logbook, things like that. But the like objective data in training doesn't always correlate exactly the way that objective data in nutrition will. And I think that's where like things start to get a little bit confusing. I don't know if you feel like people experience that for you or not. Um, but I think that's part of why you and I see so eye to eye on things is like, look, I can do a set of 20 on rear delts one day and I can do a set of 20 on a different movement. And one of those is going to feel way better than the other.
yeah, yes, right.
So do I want to maybe just do that movement twice? Maybe.
But you need variation, right? You got to confuse the muscle. Sorry.
No, I literally yesterday was sitting there and I was thinking, I was like, what do I really need to do like 3 times a week for my rear delts? What do I hate doing the most?
Okay.
Probably
Yeah.
that. Probably that.
You know, you just made a really good point about training, and this is something I really bang home with a lot of my guys. Like, do I think a straight bar skull crusher, for example, is the best for tricep growth? No. I think the alignment on it's horrible. I think that there's just a lot better things we could do for our body. And then someone will say, oh, well, so and so does it. Okay, cool, awesome. I can load the most weight on there. Okay, cool. It just gives me a little bit of elbow pain occasionally. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like that won't bother you in the short term. But every time that tendon rubs, and let's say you do 4 sets of 10, just for easy math, that's 40 reps a week where you're just creating friction. Okay. In a month, that's what, sorry, 3 weeks, it's 120. In a month, it's 160 reps. Times that by 12, then multiply that by a decade, and it's like, oh, that's why your tricep tendon is torn.
Oh, but we can just throw a bunch of peptides at it, right?
A bunch of TB and BPC, right? Just fucking load it up. Right. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I had this conversation with someone yesterday. I've gotten 3 people from a pretty popular coach lately who are coming over to work with me. It's weird. It seems like they come in droves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I guess that's always how it goes. But
Yes.
um, we were talking about how I pulled up, what I do with training as the rehab, and he was like, that makes a lot of sense. It's like,
Yeah.
it's really not hard. It's not fancy. It's just it takes time. And I think that kind of circles back to a lot of what we were talking about at the front end of this conversation is that there are coaches who are out there to like make some money, and there are coaches who probably don't make as much money as we could or probably should based on ability level because we actually take a lot of care of people. Like my average update time for people can be around 2 hours. Because I'm taking time to like sit here with my freaking pelvis model, talk through some of this and um and then there's someone on the internet who sees a clickbait on YouTube and says, "Oh, I bet I can take that into bodybuilding without any real understanding." And it's disrespectful, and yet it's opportunistic for us. And
Oh
so
yeah.
figuring out a way to kind of lean into that is big.
I think to wrap up this conversation, like I really encourage everyone to think, and this is how I teach it to my kids, this is how I teach it to my athletes, this is how I teach it to any client I ever had. I always say, how do you build a callus?
Mm,
And they'll look at me and they're like, well, just repeated stress. I'm like, okay, cool. Like that can be applied everywhere in bodybuilding. Like if you just rub right there all day with sandpaper, eventually you're going to have a big ass callus, but you're going to go through phases, right? Like it's going to peel off,
yeah.
it's going to get sore, right? Like, so if you're, say, destroying your quad tendon on doing crazy heavy leg extensions with an extreme stretch, even though your quads are bigger, that callus, put that on your quad tendon and tell me what it feels like. It's going to feel like it's going to snap, right? And it may not snap in the gym. It may snap when you're walking down the hill to check your mail on the ice and you slip, bam, done. It it can be applied to anything if you don't think about the long-term repercussions of anything we do, right? Like, and
Yeah.
that I believe that my back injury was due to improper long-term programming of loading my low back.
Mhm.
I'm not saying that was
Yeah.
the sole contributor, but I believe that played a vital role in at least expediting that process of being fucked up, right? Like
Sure.
it's just the truth. I think there might have been some genetic component. I might there have been some like weird like spinal alignment. My chiropractor believes it was years of football and not being adjusted properly. Yes, I hear that, but at the same time, like if you're back squatting, hack squatting, RDLs, regular deadlifts, rack deads, bent over barbell rows, T-bar rows every fucking week for progressive overload for 5 to 10 years, what's going to happen? I know the answer. um, you,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
smile because I know so many of your clients, they don't think that. They think I got to grow. So that means I've got to do all the shit I listed because that's where all the muscle comes, right? Like that's what we were told. That's what we were taught. Well, guess what? Like sometimes we have to evolve our level of thinking. Like, hey, hey, Chris, like if you would have simply just not done heavy deadlifts every week and every other week you would have done reverse hypers and you maybe would have stretched your fucking hips, asshole. Like,
Hmm. Yeah, I'm really blessed in that more of the people that I have to make sure that I put a bungee cord on them so they don't run off a cliff,
right. Yeah.
which I don't think is normal. But I think a lot of that comes from, me putting out content the last couple of years of like, here's me seizing on the leg press. And so there's that expectation, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so part of why I still heavy deadlift, like, yeah, I love it. But it's also because I never want to lose the ability to resonate with that crowd.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
So it's I had the God, man, I had forgotten how bad central fatigue feels after that after that set. I got home later that day, and it was like for me, it was not heavy. It was like 385, right? And I got home later that day, and I was like, I feel like I don't know what planet I'm on, and I was just fatigued. Like I went to bed like an hour early. I slept an hour late. Like forgot how that feels. I was like, yeah, maybe I don't need to do that every week.
I think to wrap this up, I want to share something and I hope people relate to it. When I started prepping people for competitions, I didn't charge them. And that's because I wasn't confident in my ability to charge for a service I wasn't proven in.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's how I made money off of that. I literally trained them in person, two to some people 5 times a week. I wrote their nutrition for free. I did their contest prep for free, but I still trained them in the gym physically. And I ran them through posing, which I didn't charge for because I needed to have clients that could say, hey, she won this, he won that. Here is my track record because I'm a big believer in I don't think just because I personally have success that I can teach you how to have it.
Right. Oh my
Like,
God. Say that louder, please.
right. I believe in my heart I have to work with different demographics, different genders, different ethnicities, different starting places, you name it. I need a diverse client portfolio to say, hey, I've taken people from fat to lean, from skinny to huge, like from in the middle to peeled. Like I needed examples so that when people hired me for strictly contest prep, I could say, okay, here's my portfolio, here's who I've worked with, and this is my resume, right? And I didn't feel confident charging people for a contest prep till through 3 years of doing it. And then
Wow.
I was like, okay, I'm good at this. Like, this is what I'm meant to do. I now have a good base level of data. I've proven that I can get to people on stage, in shape, and win shows. And then I began charging for it. Um, and I think a lot of people are fucking scared to do that. And
Mm.
I realize that a lot of people are just greedy and they just want to cash rake.
Yeah.
But I can tell you this, I knew in my heart that if I built my business on integrity, that would last a lifetime if I chose it to, right?
Always.
And it was certainly wasn't the easy route. It just wasn't. Like I could have been a scumbag and said, you know what, fuck it, this is my rate, deal with it. But I was like, no. When people came to me and they were like, Chris, I want you to prep me because I saw how great a shape you in, or I saw how great you got this person in shape. I'm like, hey, cool. Like, they're like, what's your rate? And I'm like, you just have to train with me in person and we're good. And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah. I was like, so whatever that is. Like, my rate at the time I think was $50 to $60 an hour. And whatever your budget was, you paid me to train you 2 to 5 times a week. And then that's what my contest prep cost. And you're
Wow.
still getting in-person training. You're getting a nutrition plan. It wasn't as fancy as what I do now, in terms of the spreadsheet and shit, but it was the same service. You sent me your photos, you sent me your weight, same shit. And I wish more people took that because, as we spoke about earlier, with confidence comes from doing. Like that's why I was then confident after those 3 years to say, here's my rates. If you don't like it, I'm sorry. There's other coaches who I'm sure will do it cheaper, right?
Yeah,
And
for sure.
even within the gym that I worked at, there were trainers who charged next to nothing. And I'd even have people say, "Oh, well, she or he charges less." Like, if you want their service, have at it, homie. If you don't believe in me and what I'm doing, good luck. Like,
Mm.
I'll see you, right? Like,
Yep, exactly.
and
Yeah.
I feel that is lost in today's time because that's not sexy, right? Like, that's not, oh man, well, I didn't make 6 figures this year off of contest prep. Like, I need to go get a real job now. Well, guess what, asshole? If you build your business and create a depth of knowledge and an understanding of a skill set and topic, you can make unlimited money if you choose to.
No, for sure. Well, I
So,
think that's probably a good, thing for people to look at when they're choosing a coach too, is like you can find someone's track record really easily with the
oh,
internet these days.
hell yeah.
For
Yep.
both of us, granted, like for me, mine goes back to having a different last name before I got married, but like I've got a footprint that goes back 10 years or more. Find me another PT who actually lifts, who's competed in two sports and helped a lot of people with that same track record.
Right. Yep.
Um, so yeah, do some homework.
That's the biggest thing, right? Like, because to me, when I was say learning about contest prep or bodybuilding or weight training, like it didn't feel like work because I loved it. Like it, I was like, cool, I get to go study a topic that I'm actually interested in. Like to me, that was really foreign because, it isn't like going to an English class and you're forced to read Catcher in the Rye and write a book report on it. Like, no, I'm like, hold on.
That wasn't your thing, Chris?
Wait, say what? What'd you say?
I said that wasn't your thing.
No, not one bit.
Fine, okay.
I was sitting in the back of my college classes, like drawing dudes that were huge. And like, I want my biceps to look like this. Like, no shit. I really wish I still kept them. Like, I'd have my notebook for notes on the left side. And I'd be designing the workout I was going to do that afternoon or night on the right side. It's really fucking sad, but like that's what I like. Yeah,
That's
listen.
when you know, though. I mean, like
Yeah,
that's the kind of stuff that, like, I wish this generation understood. God, we sound old right now.
right, yeah. The dinosaurs. Like, yeah, yep.
Sure.
But here's what is that to me is what's fun is like I was like, cool, I get to go learn about something, and then I get to go try it and experiment with it, and then I always had training partners, so like I would always like, okay, cool. Like, what did that feel like for you? Because it felt like this for me. And like, okay, cool. What did we learn from this? That was really cool. Wonder if we can increase the reps or weight next week. Like, and it was like, okay, then you start pairing that with, oh, well, I'm learning how to eat more food and I'm growing. And it's like, okay, cool. Now I can go harder in
That's
the
just
gym, have
exciting.
more nutrients. And it's like, I love that shit. Like that fired me up. And it's like, oh man, like I felt like it was an unlimited resource and I had a playground I could just go experiment in and try out crazy ideas that I had and just what I will say is like do stupid shit and see if it works. And then
Oh, go ahead.
no, that's it. I was done. Yeah.
It was funny earlier this week. I was texting you. I've just been texting you as you're training, like, hey, did you get a pump today? Just because, and like I'll send you my deadlift video in return. And then we started talking about, the hammer strength press, and I'm sitting there on the treadmill, and we're talking about all the different ways to use a different piece of equipment. And I feel like just being able to maintain that level of excitement, how many years into this,
Yeah.
that that's a really special gift that I hope we can give to people.
Yes, like, and that's always like I always tell people like I am very grateful that at 20 I knew what I wanted to do with my life. And I know
Mhm.
not everyone has that opportunity or chance. Or even if you discover it late in life, like to me, like cool, you just don't get quite as many years with it. Like it's okay. Like still go
Yes.
back it. Like, and that's why I always get fired up to get on these calls with like you or Dave or anyone who loves nutrition and training because it's like the shared knowledge and the different perspectives on things unlock parts of my brain to like look at a topic different, right? Like I've never thought about looking at the fucking rib cage and how important it was before you and I began to discuss it. And I'm like, man, how much stuff am I leaving on the table with just say filling that little small piece in the grand scheme of the body?
Mhm.
Like, and then it's like, okay, cool. Like, and then with like you and working through, your autoimmune disease and how can we progress? If I'm talking about that, like how can you progress in the gym, still do the shit that you love, not get injured, and still win shows? And I'm like, oh, this is really fucking intriguing because going back to that puzzle analogy, you may be one of those puzzles that's like 42,000 pieces and we just gotta figure it out. Like you aren't a,
Yep.
100-piece puzzle that's fucking easy. Like
Yeah.
there's layers and depth and there's going to be a setbacks and there's going to be evolution. There's going to be periods of where we can gas pedal that bitch and you can grow. And it's like, okay, cool. How long can we stay in that before we have to pull back before something bad happens or something breaks? Like,
Right. Right.
I don't know. Like, that's the kind of stuff like so many of people, I think, when they're putting out this content on the internet, they aren't realizing that people aren't these just black and white stick figures. They are complex individuals that require a ton of nuance that also you can still sledgehammer with. So it's like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
scaffold,
Yeah.
some
With the
sledgehammer.
right things.
Yeah. And that's the problem, right? Because these individuals, and this is exactly where I'm going to end it. These people have two or three tools in their toolkit. They don't understand that people like you and I, and this is going to sound arrogant and cocky, but we have a truck bed full of tools. And I'm sorry, that's the fucking reality. Like they don't want to admit it. They want to think their higher level of speaking can mirror 20 years of me seeing people in person and on the internet in countless bodies. And I'm sorry, your tool set is not as vast as mine, and you may have an understanding on a topic, but wait until you hit a problem. Good luck, because you don't know how to troubleshoot that. And I know that sucks to hear, but sometimes like experience just takes hands-on in your face working through problems with individuals. And that's a little rant to finish, but the analogy I always have, right, is like, do you want the plumber fixing your toilet that's exploded to have 20 years of experience or just graduated with a doctorate in fucking plumbing? I can tell you. I want that 20 years dude who's been dealing with shit and piss his whole life. Like, he's gonna know how to fix that toilet real quick. He's faced it
Absolutely. That's the
countless
best
times.
analogy.
Right. And that's hard for those individuals to wrap their mind around. But Chris, sorry, bro. Hands on. It fucking matters. So until next time, Chris and Danny. God, my blood pressure's already
I
rising.
know. We're all hot and bothered now.
Oh, yeah. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed this one as much as we did. Have fun recording it. So until next time.